Today on Behind the Label, see why Hollywood has come calling for Brazilian designer Carlos Miele. And learn how he beat the odds growing up in a third world country. Plus, go inside his high-design, luxurious home. All next. Sexy is back, and you can blame it on Carlos Miele. The Brazilian designer's flowing, ethereal silhouettes have been coveted by style stars from Sandra Bullock to Eva Longoria to Heidi Klum. It was long ago that Miele was only a success in his own country, but now his collections are sold worldwide in celebrated spots like Bergdorf Goodman, Saks Fifth Avenue, and Harrods, as well as in his own sleek boutiques in New York, Miami, and Paris. Talk about global warming. This Brazilian designer is hot, hot, hot.
Did you ever think when you started out that you would have boutiques, stores in all of these places? I mean, in your wildest dreams, did you ever think that?
No. I was dreaming to be an artist, and maybe when I was a little bit more mature, I dreamed to be a movie director. I never thought I would be a fashion designer. My grandfather, he has this dry cleaning, and he was specialized in taking care of dresses for weddings. And I grew up in Brazil. We live in a very simple neighborhood, so people didn't have money to buy new dresses, so they clean the dresses, and they use dresses from their mother, or they get bought from someone else. I spent my childhood watching him taking care of someone else's clothes. So that was, for me, I think, I realize now that was so strong that what I like to do is to dress someone, take care of someone, how they dress and things like that. So I think this I got from my grandfather. And when I see the stores in New York and Paris, like for me who come from a third world country, I mean, but it's excited.
Though Miele was never formally trained in fashion, his study of art, photography, and architecture made him a master at sculpting clothes for a woman's body.
You do performance art, you do photography. You really are such a great artist in so many different areas. Do you consider yourself an artist who does clothes or a designer who is an artist?
Oh, now much more a designer, because designing has a function, and art is more concept. The last 5 years I've been only doing mostly designing, and I think it's very exciting because you have to please your customer, and it's a way that I can go global.
His clothes are just so sexy. You put them on and you feel very glamorous, and I feel very international when I wear it, and I love it.
He actually happens to be one of my top favorite designers ever. I think as a woman, you want to look beautiful, but you want to be comfortable. Carlos Miele, you can always do that.
When you approach fashion like a sculptor, you start sculpting with the fabric before you actually do the patterns. You approach it back the way a lot of designers do.
I think when I was a kid, I started to do sculptures in metal. And I think because I didn't go to a fashion school, so this process, having the material first, start to build the form from the material, it's a way I learned to do fashion, and it works well with my team. So we kind of developed a process that is very particular.
Look at this dress, it starts out so slim and then it builds this sculptural volume that's such a signature of yours.
Yeah, this is a very good example how I do a dress. When I start to design this dress, we get them just fabrics and start to pin in a mannequin, and comes the idea. After this, we go and do some sketchings, and so the pattern makers can do the dress, and then we put together. But we start from all fabrics. And the nice thing about this dress that you can unbutton.
Oh my goodness.
And so if you want to just more simple, short dress, you have it.
Is there a perpetual muse? Is there someone who you have in mind, a specific woman that you think of when you design?
Sometimes for a collection, this can happen, but usually for me, it's more like think about this woman who's been traveling all the time to go to the different places, like different parties in Paris, New York. So in my mind comes more like this attitude.
Who is the Carlos Miele woman?
I think always someone who have a good relation with the body. My design is to affirm the body, is very positive, so that's, I don't think I can deny the body.
I love it. You really dresses well for the women body, especially Brazilians, because we have curves and all of that. So it's really comfortable, it's great.
And according to stars like Iman, Mina Suvari, and Christina Aguilera, Carlos definitely knows what a girl wants.
Who is the first celebrity that you ever dressed?
I think it was, very major was Jennifer Lopez. Or Alicia Keys, yeah, the singers, yeah. Musicians, they like me very much. I design clothes for the body and body movement, so it fits perfect with musicians. In my life, I lived in Brazil, so all those celebrities for me is something that's very special. But my favorite one now is Camila Bell.
She's beautiful.
Yeah, she's like my favorite. She's fresh, young, she loves Brazil culture. I think because I know her better, we become friends, so it's kind of easy for me to have this relation with her.
And the link he's created between old world craftsmanship and new technology is the perfect mix for the modern woman.
This dress that Camila Bell wore was one best dress of style.com.
Yes.
I mean, this is incredible, but it has so many of your touches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you did the print.
Yeah, I start by doing the print. This is collect pictures of all my trips that I did in Europe, in Asia, and Brazil, and America. And I put those pictures together and work in a digital way. And we did this print, and then this is very much my work. I like to three-dimensional layers, fabrics, and so I built this in a mannequin, and then I put it in a catwalk. This print is pictures from my beach house, where I have in this beautiful island. I took pictures of the beaches, and I made them abstract. I them and transformed them and put some layers. For me, it's colorful, exuberant, it's very Brazil.
I think it's very good that he has brought Brazil so much into the foreground in terms of profile in the fashion world, simply because he has extracted from Brazil their love of color, their love of movement, their love of sensuality, and made it a very international thing.
Coming up, find out if there's a special woman in this bachelor's life. And next, see how Carlos overcomes his childhood obstacles. Carlos Miele was born in a third world country, but in less than a decade, he's gained worldwide recognition and built an empire. And from Park Avenue princesses to Hollywood hotties is clamoring for Carlos. Now, with his first ever international ad campaign shot in his native Brazil, there are more eyes on Carlos Miele than ever before. But it wasn't about glam red carpet gowns growing up as the youngest of 3 boys in Sao Paulo.
You grew up in Brazil. What was your childhood like?
Well, I went to 9 different schools. I had some problems with this education system. Well, they have a problem with me.
What do you mean they had a trouble with you? 9 schools? Were you like a bad boy? I mean...
I don't think I was a bad boy. I just think like I have trouble to speak. I have trouble to communicate myself. I didn't have trouble to learn. I learned very easy. I had good grades. And also, I had a hard time to follow rules.
Ah. So you were the rule breaker.
We had a hard time getting along with me and my parents. They were trying hard to educate the kids. And for them, it's like they dream about that I could go work for a big corporation, that have my career. They all worry I would be in trouble if I don't change myself,
Fit the mold.
Yeah.
Now what do they think of your success, this giant international success?
Oh, they are very proud. We get along very well. I mean, it's been a long time. And I just hope one day when I have a kid, it doesn't behave like I did.
And what will you do if they do?
I'm gonna have to be patient, because like my mom said, I deserve it.
And this restless kid didn't know what his future would bring until he took a trip outside his native Brazil.
When did you first start designing clothes?
I did some pants to sell through college. Was only men's pants. Until I was 17 years old, I could not find myself in the world, I spent like 1 year in Idaho. I was exchange student in Idaho.
Idaho?
Sun Valley, Idaho. They sent me to a family. What a great family. It was my best experience of my life. My American father was Warren Brown. He was a public senator, and he was a very successful entrepreneur. And I got a chance to work a lot, to learn a different culture, and he was like very important in my life.
And you got the sense that it was important to work, and you started making pants?
Then I came back to Brazil. I had to pay my way in college. So I started to make, when I come back, I brought some ski pants. I had this idea to put those fabrics in sport shapes. And I did very well, I started to sell a lot.
And those men's pants inspired Miele to create a line of women's jeans that now rakes in $80 million a year in Brazil alone. And at the time, he tapped a little-known Brazilian model named Gisele Bündchen to be the face of his M.Officer jeans.
Gisele Bündchen. You were one of the first people who used her. How did you discover her?
Well, she was just starting, she was new in Brazil, and we did 4 campaigns with her, and we did few catwalks with her. She's unbelievable, she's amazing, more even than her beauty, because for sure she's one of the most beautiful girls in the world, but her personality that makes everybody have a different idea about what a Brazilian woman is. She put really Brazil in a different level, and I think this is really positive for Brazil.
But Carlos has definitely done his fair share for his beloved Brazil, too. In fact, he's raised money to help save the rainforest and enlisted a few fabulous friends like Scarlett Johansson and Camila Bell along the way. But Carlos is probably most famous for hiring and promoting the poor Brazilian craftswomen of a cooperative called the Copa Roca.
Handcrafts in Brazil is something that we were losing. So when I started designing, I thought it would be beautiful to bring out these techniques that you now only find inside of poor homes, because they do all these techniques to do sofas or curtains because it's made of leftover fabrics. When you bring this to pret-a-porter and you start to train those people and improve those techniques, it's become like almost haute couture, because haute couture is handcraft.
So these cooperatives, the women who work in the cooperatives now have a place really to sell their work.
One of the biggest problems in Brazil is that husbands, they run away. So the mother have to raise the kids with no money, so have to find a job, so the kids don't be in the street. So when I found this Copa Roca project that they keep them in their home, and we start to training them and have them to work in their homes so they could watch the kids and make a living.
This handicraft he helps keep alive in Brazil is known as fuxico, an art form that Miele celebrates in every collection.
It's called fuxico because in Portuguese is gossip. So the ladies, when they do this rosette, they talk about someone else's lives. So that's the name fuxico. This is a very traditional handcraft in Brazil, and this is one of my signatures.
How much labor goes into this dress? I mean, how many hours of
Weeks.
really?
Yes, it's very slow to do it because you have to do each rosette and then putting together and the lines. So it's I also think it's something that makes my collections different than the others.
Carlos, what do you want to be known for?
The best thing in my work is to give jobs. I come from a country where unemployment is a big issue. So now I have 2,000 people working direct for me, and when I get this conscience about how important to give job, I realize I want to grow my company, I want to give a lot of jobs. And more than even the designing, but it's more about the opportunity you give to people.
Coming up, see how Carlos handles the pressure of New York Fashion Week, and later get a tour of Carlos Miele's fab Manhattan penthouse. Carlos, once considered a problem child, he's now a hometown hero in his native Brazil. And he's really been on a roll since he went global in 2002, showing at the Bryant Park Tents in New York City every season. Far from an overnight success, Carlos Miele is now being embraced by the fashion community, attracting top fashion editors and Hollywood's hottest stars.
There was a time when everyone said that Roberto Cavalli was a new Versace. It looks like Carlos Miele is the new Cavalli. So I really think, he's going to have a very good future.
I just love when people use really unique fabrics and textures and color combinations, and it's just really about like the workmanship and the craftsmanship that goes into something that I really appreciate.
Let's talk a little bit about the runway. How important is it for you to show at Bryant Park each season?
Really important. I mean, my choice to first start in New York in the meatpacking district and doing my shows in New York was like complete change in my life, because New York today is the capital of the world for culture. Now I'm selling in more than 23 countries, and it starts everything in New York.
What are the shows like? I mean, do you get nervous or do you get tense? Tell me a little bit about what goes on in your mind and your emotions when you're in a show.
It's when you do the show, it's done already, So it's kind of 1 week before the show is done, because now my team say you cannot change anything. Because before I used to drive them crazy, and at the last moment, let's do this new idea, because always the good ideas come in the last week. It's always like that. So then after, it's just the process of showing, this process of waiting for the critics and see how people
So much of your work has evolved. Initially, people criticized you because they thought, there's too much stuff there. This is very Brazilian. And lately, it's more pared down. I mean, what's your reaction to, that kind of talk?
I think they were right. I grew up in Brazil. When you grow up in a country, third world country, you have no standards. So what I had is my Brazilian roots, and I want to express my way of seeing things. But now that I spend a lot of time in New York, a lot of time in Paris, I got contaminated by international standards. So it's kind of normal that now my collections are more international and people more and more accept that.
Judging by already some of the editors that are already here and the fact that it's much more popular season after season, I think is a big story. The name is coming out and familiar with the brand now.
And with the 2003 opening of his flagship store in New York City's meatpacking district, Carlos Miele really set his story in motion. And to ensure his artistic vision, he hired his idol, famed architect Hani Rashid, who has designed iconic buildings all over the world. And it's no surprise that the store soon became one of the most buzzed-about spaces in Manhattan.
That store has won all sorts of architectural awards. And it was the fruition of your dream about being an artist.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's become like a reference of architecture in New York. We have so many people come just to see by the architecture. It's so funny. And we've been publishing so many books and awards. The idea was to do like a body, something very fluid.
Carlos is a brilliant artist as well as a brilliant fashion designer. So for me, the dialogue we were having as artists, I just was inspired. I'm inspired by his country, his culture, his way, his being, and tried to find a way to bring that into New York City in the 21st century.
In fact, the celebrated New York store has become the model for the Carlos Miele boutiques in Paris, Miami, and Brazil. And his creative collaboration with Hani Rashid has even extended to the design of his decadent 3-floor New York City penthouse.
This is an incredible loft, and what's the most amazing thing is you're right across the street from your own store. Was that a big part of it for you?
Oh yeah, in Brazil, I'm in the same block of my store too, of my studio in Paris, in the same building. And I just felt in love with this whole situation here, you know? Because you have the river, you have the sunset, you have all these beautiful old buildings that sound a little bit like Europe. And so it was special. I said, this is the place to be, and this is, for me, my favorite block in the world.
How much of this aesthetic, this wonderful space, is your design aesthetic?
Well, I love architecture. 10 years ago, I was into modernist. Now I'm really into contemporary architecture.
But it's contemporary, but sort of an updated contemporary. But I see color, and that's the Brazilian part, isn't it?
I'm Brazilian, I'm not afraid of color. You know, color for me is important part of life.
And his design aesthetic is best represented by the art on his walls. Carlos displays works by some of the world's most famous artists, as well as his own creations.
Tell me about this fabulous work that really kind of sets the tone for the whole room.
I did a performance for Kennedy Saint. It was with dancers, and then those are images from my performance that me and Hani Rashid put together, and so this collaboration between us.
You have this sensibility that is at once about found objects, but in a very sleek way. Is that how you feel about your clothing?
Yes, I think architecture, designing objects, and designing fashion is really something very close, because everything is for the body. You know, like when you do a house, you do a bigger scale, but it's for the body. When you do a fashion, you do architecture in the scale of the body. And when you design an object, it's a continuation of the body. When you see it, this chair becomes your body. So it's only one thing, you know. For me, it's very connect.
Carlos, what this apartment say about you and your upbringing, do you think?
What's most I like in Brazil is the lighting. The lighting is unbelievable, and the water. So for me, this apartment is like you be in the beach, you know. And that's how I want people when walk in feel like sitting the beach, relaxing. If you see the sofas, all the sofas, you can sit and relax. And the shape of the carpet, and all this light coming through the windows, like sunny. And so it's like I feel like we are on the beach.
Of all of the wonderful items in this particular area, what is your favorite?
I think the carpet. This is a creation of Hani Rashid. This is an oriental image, erotic image that reflects on the column that you can see. Every time I have friends here, they just sit in the carpet and stay there. And even me, when I come home, I just lay down on the carpet. It's very organic, it's very sexy.
Yeah.
That's me, organic and sexy.
But fashion's sexiest heartthrob is so busy with his jet-setting lifestyle that he's had little time to truly settle down. And for Carlos Miele, it's about reinventing his craft and himself, season after season. He continues to indulge in all of his worldly passions while always remaining true to his Brazilian roots.
What's the best part of all of this for you?
Well, to have this chance to have a new life, you know, started my life, and I had the chance now to choose which city I want to build my life. To get to know different people, new culture, and when you get to know different situations and different dynamics, you open your mind. I think now I can understand better people. More and more, I understand the difference of people.
How much more do you know about Carlos Miele?
I'm really finding myself. That's another thing that is a good moment for me. And I think I never got so much in balance with myself. So it's a great experience to do an inside trip. So I'm growing a lot as a human being.